Morning all. Yep, as said earlier, I was at a business conference. It was over in Oxford Way, wasn't it? And I loved the bit where you said there's some people dressed up as policemen. That's because I am a policeman. I didn't get dressed up for the day.
Is he dressed now?
It's a uniform. But yeah, I've been in the cybercrime team. We don't always wear uniforms. I guess that is allowed. Sometimes people don't want the cyber police turning up in uniform because they'd like to keep things quite discreet. The bigger the company, if they get involved in a cyber incident, sometimes there could be ad hoc impact on their share prices and value of the company. It's a weird environment to be in, isn't it? When everyone likes to see big things happen on the news, you just literally don't want it to be you, do you? It's not a happy place when sometimes your company is up in the spotlight for all the wrong reasons. But today, there's a lot. I'm just going to introduce you to a lot of stuff that we can do and we can help. Ultimately, cybersecurity people think it's mysterious, it's complex, it's expensive. I'm uncomfortable with it. They always go off on jargon and I get lost and I hate it. And I wish they'd just speak in language I understand. It comes with these demystifying. So, yeah, I'm in the cybercrime team and I'm working on a home office project whereby we're working with universities up and down the country. We've got about 40 different universities with, I think, about 70 students, and they're all sat on computer science or cybercrime degree courses. During COVID, the idea or the concept was created by the Home Office, and effectively, cybercrime was on the up. So when you compare it to like conventional crime, pub fights, shoplifting, that sort of stuff, the average age of the offender is 28. And when you look at cybercrime, which now accounts for 52% of all crime in the UK, the average age of the offender is 16 and a half, 17 years old. It is a young person's game. But when I review some of the cybercrime that comes in, about 90% of it is all preventable. So if you've had your website attacked and defaced, and someone's just put weird or horrible pictures on your website and stuff there's not what you put there, predominantly there's the exploits or weaknesses or holes in your website, but there's also quite a lot of basic things you can do to protect your website. With your websites, you've probably connected it all up to your social media channels, which are the platforms you use to sell and advertise and get your market presence and footprint. Again, we see a lot of social media channels being what's called taken over. Someone else gets access to your social media channels, and then they're just doing postings that you literally wouldn't post yourself. You're probably losing followers, and within hours, you could have probably lost all of your followers. The message you get from the attackers is that if you want access to your social media channels again, then you need to pay me some money. Basically, pay me some money to get rid of me. Obviously, you can go and report the incident to the police and the social media channels, and they should get you back into your accounts. It's the timing issue, isn't it? It's always the timing issue with these things, because sometimes you want things done yesterday. If only we had a pause button or a rewind button, that would work well here, wouldn't it? But ultimately, if I run through, if you can all see that website address up there on the top right, could you, if you've got the ability to go onto the internet screen on a separate screen, or register for a free information pack, which will come through to you? I will see the registrations that come through. And what I said with Sarah today is that if we get you all registered today, Sarah's going to do a live prize draw where we'll give away what's called a first step web assessment, where we'll have a look at your website and the students will do a report and tell you whether there's any vulnerabilities or weaknesses, and we'll show you how to fix them. Hopefully the report will say there aren't any and you're all safe as houses, but sometimes we see some errors on websites and we can get those fixed for you. We ultimately want to upskill you so that you're left after a session so you can understand how to fix things as we go forward. But if you've all got a website, that'd be awesome. And then I will move on to, this is what we want to avoid. So yes, we do read the papers. Cyber attacks seem to be hot potato or flavor of the week at the moment in relation to things. Whether you're small or big, the attackers will still get in by the same route. Whether there's trends or seasonal trends, or whether or not you're based in a particular village in the UK, the moment you do connect your computer to the internet, you're game on. You could suffer with the same cyber incident that someone in Adelaide in Australia would suffer with. The internet is also spread all the way around the world. I speak to big companies that have got presence, in countries all around the world. So if Australia has a cyber incident with their company, if they don't manage to contact and isolate London within 4 minutes, London will suffer with the same incident. So to say that I live in a sleepy old village. No one's going to get me. I've got a small business. They don't really care. The only time I've seen that some of the cyber offenders, or just offenders actually, have a conscience is when they realise they've compromised a life-saving public sector hospital, and then they probably withdraw their attack because they're getting a lot of bad press if they go into hospitals. So that's what we want to try and avoid over the next couple of minutes. There's always a stats page. Sorry, I know it's 8:21 in the morning and we're going through statistics. Chris, what are you doing? Just to highlight the issue here. It used to be if you're involved in a cyber attack, but it's now when. So we're trying to talk you through how you can limit the impact and disruption of a cyber incident. So hopefully all of you are quite comfortable dealing with the usual things like fires, floods, fights, but how many of you have got a cyber incident response plan in place for your business and you know exactly what to do next when your computers misbehave? Obviously, you're all putting your thumbs up, saying you've all got a cyber incident response plan. Wonderful to see. If you don't have one, we have one free on our website if you'd like to download it, and it will prompt you through an aid memoir and a checklist. So who to phone in your IT teams, or if it's you are the IT team as a small business owner, it will give you a checklist on what to do next. So yeah, performing cyber drills, top right, 19%. I know it's a difficult one, but ultimately we want to get into the same place as what we did at primary school. So when you heard those fire alarms go off on Friday morning, rain or shine, you used to go out on the playground and everyone got the hump with it. Like, why are we doing this? We're not allowed to run, can't take our bags or do anything. But literally as an adult, you can quite happily go into any building now in the world that you've probably never been in, and you instinctively know what to do. Follow the fire exit signs. If you're brave enough to pick up a fire extinguisher, you just get on and do it, don't you? That's the sort of arena we need to be in. And again, if you're in a place and someone falls over, instinctively we do first aid, don't we? Because most of us are CPR trained. That's the sort of world we need to get in with what you do when computers go wrong. So when they do wrong, when they do go wrong, this is how people are picking on other people. Phishing attacks, phishing emails, we all see them, don't we? And think, oh my God, that's so obvious, delete. Not everyone is on the same level. And phishing attacks will continue to be present because they are the way that the most successful payload of how criminals deliver their pain or viruses or malicious software onto other people's computers, or they encourage you to click something to take you to a malicious website, or they try and get information out of you. Phishing emails are still the most successful way. So they're going to be around for a while. Some are more obvious than others. Some are pretty complex. And yes, I do this for a living full time, and I've still fallen for one. Effectively, you got to keep your guard up. Zero trust is what the industry call it. Trust nothing until you've checked it and done your due diligence. So whether you're a business or charity, the figures there as you go down the list are pretty much similar. Impersonations, so people pretend to be someone they're not, whether that's on the phone, whether that's through text message. Generally, it's not in person, but when it becomes in person, it could be something called social engineering. And effectively, I'm trying to be a friend. And once I'm your friend, I'm going to get something out of you because we're humans, aren't we? We like being friends, we like trusting, we like helping. So that's social engineering. And as you go down that list, you can see hacking, viruses, denial of service, all of those things. Are we all okay with the jargon on there, or does anyone like anything articulated or elaborated on that one? Because I know there's a few big words in there. Denial of service attacks. So that's when, I guess the easiest example of that is Ticketmaster. So if a big concert or football match is put up for sale on 9 o'clock on the morning, everyone wants a ticket, so they flood the web page with traffic, i.e. we all jump on that website at the same time. Generally, a website can only handle so much traffic all at once, and you get that page, don't you, saying website unavailable because so many people have jumped on to try and get the tickets to the football match or the concert, and it falls over. So an unlawful version of a denial of service attack is if I instruct hundreds of thousands of computers to all go onto one website at the same time, it can't cope with the traffic. It's like all of us trying to ask Sarah a question at the same time. She might be able to answer one or two of us, but the rest of us, she'd be like, where's that pause button? So yes, those are the style of attacks. Now, we got some young, gifted, talented individuals out there that may not use the computers positively and ethically. If they don't possess the skills to do misuse of computers themselves, Sadly, the dark web can now introduce you to cyber tools, cyber weapons, and they can buy the stuff off the shelf. And then they just configure it. They can put their name into it, or their real name, even their real bank account details. So, for instance, a ransomware kit there. So, ransomware is where I'm going to drop some horrible software onto your computer. It's going to lock it and prevent you getting access to your own data. So, I can buy a ransomware kit for $66 now on the dark web. And I would put in there, my name is chris.com, and I am going to do ransomware, and I'm going to pick on Sarah because she invited me. Sorry, Sarah. So outside ideas, I'm going to say the ransom is going to be £1 million, and I would deliver the ransom, and I'm talking hypothetically, deliver the ransomware to outsideideas.com, encrypts all her data, locks her out, and the message, the one and only message that's left on her screen is, this is a message from Chris. If you want your data back, you need to pay Chris £1 million, and these are the instructions on how to do it. So normally it will go into cryptocurrency. There'll be a clock there, which will be counting down to put some pressure on Sarah to now, is she going to make the decision? Is she going to panic? The clock's going off in front of her. It's putting her under pressure. And it's all pressurization to make you feel weak, vulnerable, and trying to get you to pay. So you can see there, compromised details. So a personal computer that's already been compromised and it's got malicious software on it. Well, I can buy details of that computer and then I can log into it myself. So criminals can buy and sell details on the dark web of compromised devices, compromised people's details, or they can instruct other cyber criminals to do stuff. So there's a marketplace, sadly, for this sort of stuff out here. So you need to be in a place where you can defend against it. How many of you don't think you're a cybersecurity company? Even I speak to the smallest baker on any old high street in the UK. Before COVID, generally they had a shop, they baked cakes and croissants. Now they've got a website. Now they've got social media channels. Now they've got click and collect facility. You go into the bakery, you've got that contact with the payment machine. There's probably Wi-Fi in the bakery. There's not one business that I can't think of at the moment that's not a cybersecurity company. You all have smartphones, which are just small computers that fit in your pocket, and they can also make phone calls. Effectively, you are a cybersecurity company, but you just don't realize it. So you've got to try and invest some time and sometimes a little bit of money into keeping these things safe. So this is what's going on around the world every minute. So please don't say this is your village. This is around the world. It's not, I don't want to make it too scary, but password attacks. So lots of it going on, overwhelmingly the highest. So people are always looking at your passwords, and we will cover that later on. Internet of Things. So that's like an Internet of Things, anything that connects to the internet. So some of you have got internet-enabled washing machines and fridge freezers and doorbells and smoke detectors, or anything that connects to the internet is an Internet of Things. It's usually got a processor in it. And if you're clever enough, you can make the thing do what it wasn't really designed to do. So you can tell a smoke alarm just to be really, really noisy and annoying. It should actually be detecting smoke, but you can just make it be really noisy all day until you hit it with a lump hammer or turn it off or flash its memory. You can configure things to misbehave, is probably what the conversation I'm having here. So supply chain tax, this is probably one important for small business. So if I wanted to get a hack into a really big company, big companies tend to have the finances and revenue available, don't they, for the latest technology. They've probably got huge IT teams. They've got teams that are looking after watching for malicious activity, and they're called security operations centers. The smaller the business, you may not always have access to the latest computers, the best protection software, the team of people that are experts that are keeping you safe, because I can imagine all of that is probably you. And when you get home, you're head of catering, you're head of cleaning, you're head of arguing and diplomacy. You are it, aren't you? You're everything. So if I was the hacker, then I would probably look at the smaller business, compromise the smaller business that might be my link into the bigger business. So when I speak to a lot of small businesses these days, say, well, it's just little old me. Why am I going to be looked at? Because you're the key to the kingdom. You could be involved at the bottom of the supply chain, which then enables someone to get into a bigger company. And sadly, they look at it as you're a smaller business, so you're not going to have the latest technology. You're not going to be on your game. You're not going to be looking after your stuff as well as what a bigger business is. So the risk there, yes, you've got smaller exposure and smaller footprint, and you don't have many computers that are always connected to the internet, but they also feel that you could be an easier target. And of course, you've got data which is worth money in the wrong people's hands. Data is always worth money, and that's pretty important. So have a look at this one. This is filmed in real time. So this website, someone's visiting a website, you've clicked on a button there. You can see the little hand in the middle there, the blue circle's going round and round. It's slow. We've spoken about slow websites earlier. You might think you've got a slow internet connection, or the website you're visiting is slow. Up the top, it's gone not responding. Down the bottom, it's now gone turn on Windows Security Center. So that's a notification to tell you that someone's turned off your Windows Security Center. So this will be really alarming by now. So we're only up to about 31 seconds of being on the website and clicking an error on it. You've got an error on the page, but 38 seconds, your ransomware has now infected your whole computer. So if you're at home, you could have lost all of your family photos. If you're at work, you could have lost the pension, client, vendor details. All of the data is encrypted. You can go through all the files, you can't see anything, but there'll be the one file which you can see, which is traditionally the file that'll be left on the screen, which is the instructions on how to get your data back. So that took 38 seconds. So there's certainly a lot of things you can do to put in place to stop that and prevent that from happening. But if you don't have any of those security controls in place, that's sadly the sort of thing that you can see. And we do see it a fair old bit. So when I said about Sarah's machine there, it will say you've got 4 hours, 44 minutes and 54 seconds to make up your mind. Are you going to pay the ransom, or will your data be deleted forever? The question which everyone says is, would you pay? Please do not answer that. That's a decision, a business decision for you and you only. And effectively, if it is a case of, if I pay, I'm paying criminals, and if I pay them, then you're a victim that pays up. So as a hacker, I might come back at you again because I know you pay up. Or if you don't pay, my family business is down the pan. What do I do? Because I employ all my family and friends. It's a really difficult business decision, but that's a business decision, one that sits with you. Certainly it is an offence, and you can report it to the police, and we will help you out on that one. We look at cybersecurity in 5 different pillars. So backing up your data. I don't know your businesses inside and out, but banks back up data multiple times a second on multiple different sites all across the country, maybe different countries in the world. So certainly on different power grids, different internet lines, so they can keep the system up and running so the banking sector works smoothly. But if you're, I don't know, maybe a school, for instance, do you back up your data daily because you're just going to miss out on 1 days of academic educational homework or so forth? But if you're doing GCSEs, you might want to back up your data hourly because that's quite an important time. So whatever's suitable and proportionate to your business, but you do definitely need to consider backups. So if everything goes wrong today, we then go back to yesterday's data. So you've only lost like a day's worth of trading. But if you don't do too many transactions, then maybe you back up once a week. So backing up your data is pretty important. Smartphones, keeping everything up to date. So just a simple thing of keeping your computers and phones up to date. Apps, operating systems. Sometimes phones will only update when they've got sufficient amount of battery and they're connected to a Wi-Fi. But the process of keeping your devices up to date, I can't undermine the importance of that. So if your computer tells you, I need to restart to do an update, it's warning you that it feels it's in an unsafe mode and it needs to be restarted. Go and make a cup of tea whilst it reboots. Give your brain a rest. Go and walk around the garden, get those steps in, but let the computer restart. I certainly don't do any sensitive browsing on my computer. And when I say sensitive, going onto my emails, going to bank, anything where the transaction involves a password going to and from the internet when the computer's declared to me it's in an unsafe mode. So just restart. Don't put it off. Restart. Grab a cup of tea. I'm hoping you've all got antivirus, anti-malware on your computers running these days. We've still got bang the drums on it, but it's the sort of thing that needs to be there. And then passwords. We are going to cover that later on. But these are sort of solutions on the left-hand side. This all forms part of something called Cyber Essentials, which is the UK government's framework to keeping your computer safe and configured. All of those things on the left-hand side, you probably recognize them as, you'd probably say they're hurdles. They annoy me. They cause me problems. They take me longer to do stuff. But they're all things which effectively keep you safe. So how many of you on your computers at home now could go to a website and download TeamViewer, for instance. It's a software which you can download, which allows someone like me to remotely log into your computer and control it. How many of you could download any software you want on your computer? Or does your computer prevent you from doing it? So what we got there is standard mode and admin mode. So when you're in admin mode, you are allowed to make important system changes. You should never be doing your day-to-day business on admin mode. You should be doing your day-to-day business on standard user mode, so that if you accidentally click on a link or you go onto a particular website, the computer stops at the point where you can do system changes, and a pop-up box will appear saying, do you really want to do this? If you do, you need to type in your password. So day-to-day business needs to be done on a standard user mode. It's easily done if you're an Apple user or a Windows user. Go into your user accounts option on the settings menu, create an extra user. I don't know what you want to call it, day-to-day using or work mode. Don't have to put well, yeah, you do have to put a password on it because that's best practice. So put a password on it and then log out of your admin mode, and then you do all your day-to-day emails, surfing the internet, processing invoices, but you always do it in standard user mode, so it protects you. It reduces the risk. And then if you do need to do admin changes, then you log back into that admin mode just for that admin change. When you finished it, you're back into your standard user mode. And it's some housekeeping you need to get into. It's an easy thing to achieve. It's free. You just got to create that extra user account. But no one ever told you that when you bought the computer. You just turned it on and you're away, weren't you? But there's a real safeguarding message there on a standard versus admin user modes. And that's a freebie. So going down that list there, up-to-date malware protection, Windows Defender's got that. Password policy, we'll cover that in a minute. Backups, restricting IT admins to specific users. Firewalls, you've got that on your BT Home Hub, your Sky routers. Just got to make sure that stuff's all turned on by default. An agreed process for staff. If you're just the only member of staff in your business, you know what you should and shouldn't be up to. Everything's there for a business objective. And two-factor authentication. So any of your social media accounts, I hope you've linked in your mobile phone number to that account. So if I knew your password and I tried to log into your account, you'll get a text message through to your phone, and I can only then further log into your account, completely log into your account if I've got that code off of your phone. So the key there is you've got to link something separate. You just can't have no two-factor authentication on it. If you wake up in the morning and there's a 2FA code sat on your phone and that wasn't you because you were asleep, what do you reckon that means? Your password's been compromised somewhere. So that's a notification to you to go into that account and change that password. So don't ignore it. Passwords then. Right, in your head, no counting this out loud. I don't want to see your lips moving. How many characters long is your password? So if I put it into context, if it's 8, so this is like Sainsbury's, Amazon, eBay, the passwords you use for your life. If you've got a password length there of like 8 characters long, then I could probably hack you myself in less than 20 minutes. So Cyber Essentials says your password length needs to be at least 12 characters long if you don't have it connected to two-factor authentication. And if you... No, I've got that around the wrong way. 8 characters long if you've got it connected to two-factor authentication. If you do have 2FA on it, I've still got it wrong. Why am I getting this tongue-tied this early morning? Right, 12 characters if no 2FA, 8 characters long if you've got 2FA turned on. God, tongue-tied myself here.
Need more
But
coffee.
look at that. If you're one of those people that generally struggle to remember long, complex passwords, and then you come back after a long weekend and then you think, oh God, what was the password I changed on Friday? And you can't remember it. You've got a couple of choices. You can either trust a password manager, which all of your passwords are saved in an online vault, and it will give you a new, unique, independent, long password for every different website you go to. But if you're one of those that don't trust password managers, and you're like the little black book or the Post-it note brigade, because I know those people still exist, you can do that. Also, you've got to keep that book somewhere safe. You're unlikely to be burgled by a cyber offender, but you've got to keep that book safe somewhere. Now, 3 random words is a really good thing to get to. Think of it as a passphrase rather than a password. So string together 3 random words, and on the right you've got there like London Beach Music, all in capitals, 16 characters long. So that's in the orange area of when it could be compromised, which is good, but we could always do better, couldn't we? Capitalize it. London Beach Music. So you've got capital L, B, and M. You've now uppercase and lowercase. Or if you went down the bottom to like Red House Monkeys, if you want to add a number and a symbol onto it, you've now got numbers, symbols, uppercase, lowercase, and Red House Monkeys is 18 characters long. You've got a really complex password there that sits in the green safe area, not what's password 123, which is still being used today, believe it or not. Believe it or not. So, have I been pwned? Have any of you heard of this website or seen it before? A few of you. So this is a search engine of the dark web. If you effectively go onto Google, type "have I been pwned," and some people call it "have I been pawned," but please spell this correctly, because if you misspell it, you might end up somewhere else. But effectively, "have I been pwned," "have I been pawned," however you pronounce it, is a data breach notification service. So if you put your email into it, it will tell you how many data breaches you've been involved in. And at that point, there's a button on there that says "notify me." So click the "notify me" button, and if you're any future data breaches that will occur, it's not if they occur, they are going to occur, you will be notified if your details are found in any of those future data breaches. And once you know what's been breached and where, it gives you the ability to go in, change the password, or change some of the details to keep yourself safe. Because once the data breaches are out there, anybody can access the data breaches. Sometimes they've got to pay for the list of data breaches. Sometimes they can get it for free. But certainly, if I saw your passwords on a data breach, it gives me the ability to go in and change the password for you, which would cause you a proper headache to get that all back. So just bear in mind that this is a free service, and you can also add your company domain on there. So at the moment, if you've got 1 or 2 staff and you grow and you've got 1,000 staff next week, you can protect your whole domain for free as well. So have I been pwned domain search. It is a good service. And then, how am I doing for time, Sarah? Good. So we are paid for by the Home Office. We're each of the 9 centres across the UK. So we chop the country up into 9 centres. There's 43 different counties, which means there's 43 different police forces. Down in the southeast, the Southeast Cyber Resilience Centre looks after Hampshire, Isle of Wight, Thames Valley, which is Oxford, Buckinghamshire, Berkshire, Surrey and Sussex. There are some chargeable services which we do offer as well. But for instance, corporate internet discovery, that's all about open source intelligence. If you know what's on there about your company, what information's out there already, it enables you to manage that information, because information is powerful. We can look at certain individuals. So if you're worried about your digital online footprint and you think there could be a lot of information out there about you, we can do an open source intelligence or an internet discovery on individuals. We do security awareness training as well. Some of your local police forces can deliver this training as well for free, where workforce training or individual training, so that people all know about cybersecurity and what good looks like, how to recover from an incident, how to reduce the impact and disruption of an incident. It's all about upscaling or upskilling your staff, knowing what to do to prevent things from going wrong. Because I'm sure probably, how many of you ever done cybersecurity training? So know what a phishing email looks like, how to manage it, know the symptoms, the causes, what the dangers are. Some people have, some people haven't, but it's worth just doing some of the free courses out there so you understand. We've got some cybersecurity services out there. So if you've got to the stage where you've had to write some policies to comply with like a service level agreement, you want to win that contract, so you're tendering for a bid and you need to have to demonstrate you've got some policies in place. We've got a lot of policies on our website, again, which are free for you to download. You can cut and paste, put your company name on there. There's about 160 policies on there, and we can review the ones you've got in place already, if that helps. And definitely continuity exercise, practice when it all goes wrong. Like I said, we've got that instant response plan on the website as well for you to download. But one of the key ones which we find quite useful is we can do vulnerability assessments. Quite a lot of people call them penetration tests. So where someone will look at your computer systems and effectively double check whether you configure them safely or securely. So it's someone external having a look at the public visibility infrastructure you've got for your business and seeing if they can get through your your armor, your shield, your castle. The internal vulnerability assessment is when they've managed to get in. Now, what can they find? So all of your data that you have saved on computers or servers should be encrypted. So even if I got hold of it, I can't do much with it because it's encrypted. You'll have the password, so it's very useful to you. But for me, encrypted data is rubbish. And then the first step web app, which is what I said we can do today. If everyone's registered, we'll have that live prize draw, and one of you will get a free assessment on your website done today. That is it. And I don't want to scare you too much, but there's a lot of stuff that you can do to keep yourself safe. So Cyber Essentials is a really good framework for small business. You can effectively configure your computer in a manner of ways which will protect you from the majority of cybercrime. And some of it's common sense, and you've only just, like when I spoke about admin and standard user, that's common sense. Passwords 12 characters long, that's common sense as well. Linking a mobile phone, your genuine mobile phone, to all of your social media accounts, two-factor authentication. It makes sense when you put it in different language sometimes, but there's a whole list of questions which just encourages you to do certain things. So we talk about ports on a computer, don't we? A port is a certain thing. If you just compare it to like your local house, you open up your front door when you want to go in and out of the house. Well, that's a port. The purpose is to walk in and out of the house. You open up the upstairs window in the bathroom when you're having a shower because you want to let the steam out. Well, that could be a port. You open it for a particular purpose. And then when you've finished having your shower, you shut the window to improve security. Well, all that is just a port on a computer. You open it when you've got a purpose and you close it when you don't need it. So we try and move away from that mystifying jargon and language and put it into language which makes more sense. But has anyone got any questions?
Love it. Thank you so much, Chris. Right, hang on. I'm just going to remove Spotlight and stop recording somewhere.